you look at organizations, this is something that I have come across a lot. Well, not a lot, but I know that it happens and I've seen it happen. And you've mentioned it at the beginning of the podcast, where organizations say that they have a certain culture. So they might say our values are integrity and we have good communication and we support each other. So I'm thinking they tell you these things, but in reality, the culture is something completely different. What do you look for to understand what the actual culture is? So how do you see the reality despite what leaders are telling you the culture is? What do you look for?
Yeah, we've come up with a sort of we developed a model, and it all came out of that insight I said some years or decades ago around culture as care. So as I mentioned before, you said, where does culture start from? And I said it's belief.
Yeah. So
when somebody says, we believe we've got a great culture because integrity is one of our values, we've read Simon Sinek's book and found that a purpose is important, and there's ours. Our purpose is to be awesome. I listen to all that and I go, okay, that sounds cool. That sounds kind of promising. Let's have a look at the reality. And to your point, then what we're interested in is watching it in action. So we go from what I call belief to behavior. So in the old days, I used to do what's a kind of a core skill set in anthropology is called participant observation, where you basically would go and participate, actually work, not just sit with a clipboard in the corner, but actually go and work in the environment with the people doing the work.
Wow. So
I've spent time in call centers, I've spent time on the road with sales reps, I've spent time sitting in executive teams planning strategy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what you're actually doing is going, okay, you said one of your values was integrity. Let me see, given that culture is all about what humans care about here now, let me see how much you care about integrity while you're with this customer.
Wow.
Let me see how much you care about integrity while you're planning this strategy. Let me see how, and it's at that point that the rubber really hits the road and you kind of go, oh, so you believe integrity, but you don't practice it.
That's interesting. And people might not even realize that. They might think that they do it, but then when they reflect on their own actions or someone watches, they realize that it's not that way.
Yeah. And so that's the real power, I guess, of anthropology, because in the early days, that's kind of what my career was spending time in organizations, sitting, observing, participating. So I'd be going, I'd be taking calls on in the call center as well, dealing with grumpy customers, but actually doing the work, because you have to put yourself in their situation. Otherwise, it's very easy to sit back as an external and go, I really don't think you should be yelling at your customers like that. They are the customer after all, and we're earning money from them, so please be polite.
Yeah.
That's a really thing to do for, like an executive coach. If you're not actually doing their job, you could argue you've almost got no right to guide somebody if you don't know what it's like to be in the hot seat. So anthropologists put themselves in the hot seat to go, oh yeah, wow, that's really uncomfortable. That's the 19th phone call in a row with somebody swearing at you personally, for something that somebody in another department in another state of Australia did last week, and now you're copying it. So it's only when you've got that, when you go, yeah, I get how hard that is to maintain integrity when somebody's being violent towards you or swearing at you or calling you names. I get how that's really, really hard to take the belief and transfer it into behavior.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just went through something like a performance feedback cycle in the business, right? And I get, as that telemarketer or that call center, I get called into a review with my boss. And it goes something like this. So, Michael, we've had 5 complaints in the last fortnight about you swearing back at customers. What's that all about? My first question is, boss, have you ever been on the phones? Right? Because if the boss hasn't, then I go, look, this kind of conversation is really redundant. I already know I'm not supposed to swear at customers. I know that's not kosher. I know that's not cool. I know that's not good customer service. I know that's not great for our brand. I know that does shocking things to our net promoter score. I know that those customers may never use us again.
Yeah.
But let me tell you about those are the 5 complaints you got. Let me tell you about the other 14 that occurred before that. Right? So this is what I mean by what does it mean to be human here in that hot seat now with those 19 calls, of which 5 led to customer complaints. So if you don't have the awareness or the understanding of that, then it's very, very hard to put yourself in the position to understand how is that occurring and why is that not playing out. So coming back to your original question, culture forms through belief.
Yeah.
To understand, to your point, if it's real. Thank you. Sorry, my wife just brought me in a rescue cup of tea. You can hear my voice go.
Gotta have your cup of tea. It's very important.
So then we have to test and go, okay, I believe in it. Am I behaving it?
Yeah.
And then we look at the outcome of either behaving or not behaving it, which is basically then saying, great, so what have you become as a result of believing in this, not behaving it? Now what have you become? So those 3 levels are what we call the practicing of culture, or what we call culturing. It's culture in practice. So believe, behave, become. So let's take the integrity example. The company says, we believe in integrity, Michael. And I go, okay, let's have a look. And I spend whatever it is, a month with them or 3 weeks with them. And then I see a lot of behaviors that are not in integrity.
Yeah.
I go, so we don't blame them for that. We go, okay, like you said, that's really interesting. I love the word you said that your organization's all about, which is curious. You cannot be a really effective anthropologist if you don't have massive amounts of curiosity. Right. So you sit there and go, oh, that's really curious. They said they believed in integrity, and yet I've been here for a month and I haven't seen it once. What I have seen is a lot of striving, a lot of endeavor, a lot of effort. So what's that all about? And then you look at who they become out of that behavior of striving and effort and endeavor, and you go, oh, they've become successful.
Interesting.
So what they really value is success, not integrity. So at that point, when I'm doing my job, I write that down. And when I kind of write up the report, I go back and go, you know, your values of integrity, customer service, and respect, they're wonderful, but they're not your values.
Yeah. Right. Interesting.
Your values are compete, succeed, win.
Wow. It sounds like a lot of observation is involved. And from our research of anthropology and culture, it does sound like that. You can't just make assumptions. You need to watch and see what actually happens in reality. And it sounds like you need to take that time to step into their shoes. And that's what we love as well. We love human-centered design, and we do observations for designing our projects. So watch the user and see what their life is actually like. So I can totally relate to that observation part.